Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we get into today's episode, I want to thank autofiber.com, autofiber.ca, and autofiber.com.au for sponsoring this episode. And as you can see through those three websites, this is not only U.S. people only. This is slowly morphing into a global arena to where you have easier access, depending upon or regardless of where you listen to the podcast from, to get your hands on some quality microfiber towels. So check out autofiber.com or any of the other two websites that I just mentioned. Support them for supporting the show, and let's get into today's episode. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 381 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm excited for this episode, really excited. We have Brian Geiger from Columbia, South Carolina, and Columbia Auto Detail, who has a host, and this is really what I want to focus our conversation around, a host of upsells, add-ons that kind of relate to car detailing, kind of, but it seems like a whole host of additional upsells that generate a lot of good revenue. So I want to get into that. But first, Brian, welcome to the Auto Detailing Podcast.
Thanks, Jimbo. I really appreciate you having me today. I'm really excited.
Same here. Before we get into kind of the meat and potatoes of today's episode, why don't you just give us a quick overview of how you got into detailing and how long you've been into detailing and kind of where you started as far as mobile, fixed, and all that good stuff.
I got you. Well, I started as a young kid, I guess around 15 years old. My uncles and my dad, they used to drag hot rods out of the woods and fix them up and sell them. And, you know, the full paint and body shop, the detail shop, the upholstery work, the motor work, they had a full shop. And I grew up around that. And then my other uncles, of course, had car lots. My other uncles had pinstripe, you know, back in the day, pinstriping and graphics and stuff like that were big. So everybody in the family was into vehicles, and I kind of fell right into it. I guess after school, the earliest I can remember actually working is 15 years old. My job was sanding and buffing lacquer paints on the hot rods.
Oh, man.
So that's
great work.
Those big, huge rotary machines with wool pads and sanding cars with 600 grit sandpaper, and you could just buff them with a brick. Back then, the paint was so hard. But so I started then, that was like 1985. I'm 50 years old now, and I did that up until the 1990s. About 1995, after I got out of the whole, I was in a rock and roll band playing drums and stuff. So about 1995, I was like, look, I'm going to concentrate and open a shop. And I had a shop working for dealers and working for the public. And because I grew up around repairing cars so much and not just doing detailing, I think I just got caught doing too much work to the vehicles. You know, I was just like every little thing. I was making no money for a couple of years because I was spending an entire day on a vehicle and not charging enough money.
Right.
Well, then I guess around in 2000, I moved downtown and rented a shop. I then made another change, 2001 to 2004. I worked from my house in my garage, just trying to get it right, just trying to figure it out.
And what was, sorry to interrupt, but what was that transition like? Like, did you because I know there's a lot of guys and me as well, like mobile, kind of then you step up into like doing work kind of out of your house or garage or whatever. And then some people try to step into a shop. You going to a shop and then going back home, did you like home better? Did you like the shop better and the timing just wasn't right? Or what was that kind of like?
Well, I hear people talking when you interview them before, like some people don't like people coming to their house, but I had a nice piece of property,
right.
I could store cars there. I could do, somebody could bring their car, leave it overnight, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I didn't have the overhead, and I worked right there in my garage. the only downfall of that is hard to get people to, if you didn't already have business, if you didn't know anybody, it's hard to get people to take you seriously if you say, well, just bring your car to my house.
Gotcha.
If they knew how good you were and were willing to
Sure.
spend the time and the energy to get there. But, it was hard to get new clients. It's hard when people are competing, around town, they can't wait. There's nowhere for them to wait if they were to, get there early or whatever. There was no office.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a downfall, but it worked out. I did it, I did that for about 3 years maybe.
Wow, okay.
And then I bought a trailer. And I guess from 2004 to 2013, me and a buddy of mine, we were in the wind. It snows here. It gets 110 degrees here sometimes.
Oh, man.
And we were just in the wind. We did my main focus, I don't hear a lot of your interviewees doing a lot of dealer work, and I know we try to stay away from some of the dealer work, but for me, the little small car lots have been my bread and butter.
Mm.
We, people that have maybe 50 cars on their lot.
Yep. Okay.
So we could service maybe 4 or 5 car lots in a week. And I guess somewhere around 2012, 2013, we were too busy. And we tried to hire some other people, but it just didn't really work out. It always works best with just me and another guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the main thing that I did that changed my life around was one of the things was these car dealers wanted me there, and they would have one car there. They was like, I got 4 cars, and we'd show up, and they'd have one. And so that started getting discouraging because we'd set up our get our pressure washer out, our extractor out, and all that. Well, I decided to start selling days. I know I don't have any other way of saying it.
Okay.
Then I just walked in. I was like, look, if you want me to be here on Monday, you commit to paying me this amount of money every single Monday, and I'll be here. If you have 6 cars, we'll do them. If you have 3 cars, I'll do them. And so trust me, whenever because we get there and the batteries would be dead, a car would be out of gas, it wouldn't be there yet. I tell you what, you commit them to paying, you can guarantee those cars were there.
Interesting.
Like, we would get there at 8 o'clock. They'd be like, here's your cars. They're all set up and ready for you. Where before, when we were getting paid per car, we'd get there and they'd be late. The cars would be, they wouldn't have the keys.
Mm-hmm.
So I started selling days, man. And then then other guys, like, I would get a phone call. They're like, hey, how about you come over here and, do a couple cars? I'm like, well, the guy's paying for the day. I can't come on Tuesday. He's like, well, I'm paying. I was like, no, you don't understand. He actually bought the day. And then they'd be like, what do you mean?
Right.
How do they buy a day? How much does that cost? And then I would actually, each time somebody asked, I would up the money for the day. And they would go for it or they wouldn't.
Right.
But, because all these car dealers, the little car lots would try to hire somebody to work for their lot for $400 or $500 a week.
Right.
And then they would just shove us out.
Right.
When they'd fire that guy or he'd quit or he was terrible, they'd bring us back. So it's cutthroat,
Right.
So I'd make them sign a 1-year contract or at least a 6-month contract for every single Thursday of our life. We go to their car lot and they pay us this amount of money. Now, we would get times where we'd have 6 cars there. And we would have times where we had 3 cars.
And you set like a day is 8 hours, 10 hours. Like, do you set the parameters of the deal? Like, whatever we can get done within 8 hours is what we get done. Like, and then how do you come up with the figure for that is kind of a win-win for them and you, right? Because like you said, if you have 6 cars, that's obviously a lot different than 3 cars, which you may not be able to get. Maybe you figure that out, right? Like, hey, we can only do 6 cars, right? So no matter what, worst case scenario, it's 6 cars, right?
Yeah, trust me, you're at a limit. You couldn't. There's been times we've done 8 cars in a day, but the cars have suffered.
Right. And
that's because we were doing car lot cars.
Right.
We would never be able to do personal cars like that because somebody get screwed, get the short end of the stick there. But Sometimes it would be if they had a lot of cars, I would want all their cars up front. I had to know everything they wanted us to do by 10 a.m. They couldn't come at 3 o'clock and throw two more cars in.
Right.
Because that's what they did, and I learned quickly. At 2 o'clock, they'd be like, hey, do these other three. So I made a rule that by 10 o'clock, I had to have every car there. So if they told us it was going to be 6 cars, then one car was really bad on the interior and one car needed some buffing, then we would just concentrate on that. Like one car might get waxed on the exterior and maybe a quick wax, but we spent time on the interior.
Right.
The other car might need some exterior work, so we spent a lot of time on the exterior, but the inside got, we still did it. It's just that we had to.
Sure. No, it's just a different style of detailing. It's not. It's kind of. I like to compare it to like the reality of detailing versus what you read on the internet. It's just a different style of detailing. But I get what I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yes, I don't think that the customers wouldn't complain about the car. It's not that we would just miss it completely.
Right.
We just wouldn't be too.
Yep.
So, but to answer your question, we would be set up and working by 9 and 5 o'clock. We were done. Now there were times when they would pay us extra to stay after 5.
Interesting. Okay.
If they had some cars, we're not in the market to stay late, but
right.
One time a week or every once in a while, if somebody had to get some cars out and they knew we weren't going to be back till the next week. Yeah, absolutely. They would be like, hey, here's a couple $100 more. Could y'all please do these other cars really quick to get them on the lot? So of course we would.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to turn down money. We wouldn't stay till 9 o'clock or anything, but we would do 2 hours. We'd stay till 7.
Got it.
But so that got us. That got us about 4 days a week, 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, and some companies started buying 2 days a week. So then we had to limit our, we had 2 car dealers paying us 2 days a week. So we only had to work for 2 car dealers. And then that Friday, we would just do some personal cars. Mainly on Fridays, we would do personal cars or just scramble around from place to place, trying to make money and, trying to sell that Friday. We couldn't book all week. So then we started selling, we just come to you every other Friday. Then we started working Saturdays because we got extremely busy. But, that lasted for a while. And what happened next was pretty amazing because the car dealers then wanted to buy 3 days. And I'm like, wait a minute.
This could work. I really like this plan though. Like the only caveat being it's really hard to find employees, right? But if you could sell days with employees, that seems like it could work out really well. But keep going. I don't want to interrupt and jump the gun here.
So I hired days. And what we did was each car lot had a little cleaning area. So I bought some pressure washers, extractors, buffers, pads, washing, and had basically we're in-house at that point. One or 2 days a week we're in-house. So I hired someone, and one person would go to one place, and he would show up at 9 o'clock, and he would work there like he worked at that place.
Right.
And, subcontracted there, and they would do the work there, one person. And that way one person could maybe he could work 2 days there because he was only one person, and he could do less work.
Sure.
But so we changed the money for one person being there.
Of course.
Instead of 2 or
right.
3. But then I found myself where I had people spread out, and the money, I would just collect the money, and I would go over and check on things, and I was detailing myself. I had the main truck and trailer. It worked out great. I mean, it was booming. We had our product way down. We hardly spent any money on product, and we're not. We'll get into it eventually, but that's when I decided to start selling for options and different things. But I don't know when you want to talk about that, but I'll just.
We can go right into it. We can go right into it if you want.
Yeah, but ultimately, like I have been for the past 5 years, one of these car dealers decided to open a huge service area for his shop. He had 3 car lots, and plus he's in with a bank doing repos. And sending cars to the auctions. So he's like, here, I'm going to give you a shop, and I want you to come work for me every single day.
Whoa.
So with that, I had to have a contract, right? So just like an IT
Totally.
guy or company would go work at a insurance company, you get a year contract.
Right.
I just got a yearly contract, and I also worked out a way that where early mornings before 9 o'clock, lunchtime, and any time after 5 p.m. that I do any outside work or Saturdays, then I keep that money, and I give him maybe a 10% for using his shop.
So is he subcontracting to you, or are you? I'm
a subcontractor.
Got it.
I'm a 1099 worker for the company is actually Geiger Services.
Got it. Okay.
Because we offered so many services, and
right.
I just never changed my name. But Columbia Detailing, Auto Detailing is our Facebook.
Gotcha.
And what I go by. But we are subcontracted. But we come here. We don't pay rent for the building, and we have a nice big building.
Whoa.
We pay for all of our supplies, and we are still now since 2013. We still get paid by the day.
Got it.
I know that's odd, and it wouldn't work for most people, but we can now, like I said earlier, we can we work on. You've seen, I don't know if you've been to my Facebook page or anything, but we work on boats, we work on cars, we work on RVs, and we bring people in, and then we get to that's our money, as long as we fulfill the duties of the car lot here. It's kind of saying it now. It sounds like it doesn't work, but it's really, I'm in the best place I've ever been in my whole life.
No, it seems amazing. And do you have other lots still going that are run by other people, and then you kind of, your home base is this current bigger shop, I guess?
Yes, this shop holds about 10 cars inside.
Wow.
Nice brick building. They have a service. Man, to be honest with you, man, I get to tell my clients now, my personal clients, that if you want to get tires or an oil change, bring your car in here. I'll clean it. I'll get the oil changed and get a quote for some tires. And, you just one-stop shop.
And then would you make a cut off that too? Like, is that an additional revenue stream for you if you do that?
No, to get those oil changes down to a decent price, I'm not fighting over that. I make sure I charge them enough on the detail.
Gotcha.
Like I said, in the past, I've done this my whole life, but in the past, there's been times where I was scared to charge. Only this past 10 years or so that I've been like, you know what? I deserve more than this.
Yep.
I'm not some flunky.
Yep.
I deserve this. My family deserves, my children deserve for you not to run over me with these prices. I'll either not do it, or I'll do it for a lot of money.
Man, that's such a tough lesson to learn, but such a solid one. And I think the hardest part about that, because I'm kind of been going through that same thing, right? And what I'm starting to learn, and maybe you had the same realization too, is like, just like trying to hire employees, if you think about it from the consumer standpoint or even the dealership standpoint in your situation, to find someone as capable as you, right, in all things, not only able to do the work, but able to communicate, able to bill accordingly, able to take a check, able to fulfill the needs that they have, right? That is actually a rare thing, right? And I would venture to say that people listening to this podcast that are investing in themselves enough to sit there and listen to two people, chit chat, are in that same position of like, you are rarer than you realize, right? There is so many flakes there, and the chances of you being comparable to, a random detailer, you're probably much better. So everyone does kind of go for that price thing, right? And the price, it always ends up at the bottom, right? But the reality is that you're probably a lot rarer than you realize, right? And being rarer, you have less time, you have less everything. So therefore you could charge more and charge accordingly to your rareness, because you are valuable, You know, you are way more valuable than you probably think, you know, and unfortunately that only comes through experience, right?
Exactly. Yes, lots of years of. I know you have a lot of young listeners and a lot of young guys doing detail work. Well, since I found your podcast, I've done a lot more research just because of your podcast, and thank you for that. But I know there's a lot of younger guys out there that just really are happy to make money, and I can't really tell them, hey, when somebody asks you a price, you have to think about your children or your family. Maybe they don't have children or family, so they might not.
Yeah, but what about your future? You know?
Yeah, your future, exactly. And when are you going to put the brakes on that?
Yep.
Cheap pricing.
Yep.
You know, and that it's either going to work or it's not. You can't go 10 years of just breaking your back,
right?
You know, and barely making it. If that's the case, you need to get you just get a job, you know.
100%.
But some of us are just like me. I think if I really got a job, I probably wouldn't show up on Monday. But now that for 40 years that I've been working for myself, I get up at 6 and get here first.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I don't know what that is.
I always joke like I'm the worst employee ever because I make like the most irrational like no, I'm not doing that because I've worked for myself for too long, you know, and I have like all these partnerships lined up and I have to structure them in a way that I know I work, you know, because I'm like you said, if I'm chained to a desk, I'm like the least creative person ever. My brain literally goes blank, right? But if I have like free range to kind of do my thing, like you, it's like I'm up early, I'm trying to be creative, I'm trying to be innovative, I'm trying to like do all these things. And I don't mind doing that for other companies, but I have to work within my own box, not theirs.
Exactly.
You know.
We're a rare breed, like, you know, self-employed people, you know, we're self-employed for a reason.
For a reason, yeah.
Pretty strong-willed and don't take kindly to a lot of direction from bosses, you know. Even though our clients are our boss and my guy here
100%.
is my boss, we still kind of got to do it our way a little bit.
100%. 100%.
Well, I'm going to jump into some of these.
Let's do it.
What you're calling add-ons, which I didn't really know that they were until.
Well,
let's see.
I guess what I meant by that is, and I'm going to I was thinking about how I want to title this episode, and I'll kind of keep this, I'm going to not edit this out so people can kind of hear my thinking at least. I don't think so the list that you text me, right? And you said, just for example, this is some of the things that we offer. I call it an add-on because, and maybe that's a bad word or a bad term for it, right? Maybe there's a better term, but I'm lacking in my vocabulary. And it's so like the title of this episode, I'm going to like title something like Unconventional Upsells, right? Because because everyone thinks of like, oh, window tint or clear bra or, you know, kind of the ones that everyone thinks about, right? And what I love about your list is, for me, I don't think they've ever been talked about on at least this podcast, right? I don't know about other podcasts. Maybe it's been talked about other places. But for me, I looked at it and my first thought was these are very like unconventional in a good way, right? Add-ons or services that I think other people or shops could pick up on for like a lot of money, right? To generate a lot of extra revenue. Or like you said, you deal with extreme temperatures where you're at. I don't, but most of the country does deal with like 4 seasons, right? So a lot of the stuff that you had mentioned can be done when it's like negative 84 out, right? Or 180 degrees out, or those extremes, right? So yeah, sorry, I wanted to kind of preface that for people, but yeah, tell us about these.
Okay, let's see. I know it always comes from 2 different sets of eyes because of dealer work and personal people work. Like, you know, your average guy calling in.
Like retail work. Retail and dealer work is kind of how I look at it.
There you go, retail and dealer work. And when I say dealer, I don't mean these big, huge car dealers. I mean a 50 car little mom and pop dealership. You know, little they have 50 cars on the lot.
Yep.
But what I found out is once I clean a car and it's spotless, I started taking pictures like we all do. Look at my car I clean, you know. Well, I started putting them in. Folders and little albums. Then I started sending them to people afterwards. And somebody said, "Man, I don't owe you any money for that." So I was like, hey, wait a minute. So now I offer this service where I actually will take a picture of your car, 20, 30 pictures. And you might be wondering why you need that or whatever. But people that really love their car want pictures. It's not like it's I don't go in and Photoshop and do all this crazy stuff to them like it's, I'm not a professional photographer, but I do take pictures of the car for a few reasons. One is and I go through this all the time because I work for some insurance companies. If your car gets stolen and then it gets damaged, you have proof that your car was in great shape at some point in time.
Interesting.
You could show those pictures. I've had to send in pictures to insurance companies before after a car has gotten stolen or wrecked or anything like that. That's a very fine line to be able to use those pictures. But also when you resell your vehicle, not that your vehicle would be way worse. You don't want to lie in selling your vehicle, but some people like to have those pictures of your car freshly cleaned so that they can sell their vehicles later on down the line.
Yep.
If maybe not 2 years later, it won't be the same vehicle, but we clean a lot of cars when people want to sell to upgrade their car or whatever. They can use those pictures, and obviously they could take pictures by themselves, but that turned into my dealer work. So now every car we clean for a car dealer, we built a photo booth inside my shop, which is just lights and a big curtain. And if you go to my page, you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's a nice gray painted floor, nice big white curtains with 3 or 4 lights. Now we get paid above and beyond our daily stuff. We take professional pictures of those photos, and that's the photos that they use online on their car lots.
Whoa.
It goes even further than that. We now get paid to upload their pictures. So at night, when I'm just sitting around, I can upload their pictures to their website. I actually go into their website, add the passcodes and everything to their website. I'll upload the pictures at the end of the week or whatever. I'll upload pictures of their cars that are actually on their car lot. Nobody wants to deal with that,
Right.
I know that sounds like, how in the hell does he do that much work and then still do those pictures? But the money, it's like some of this stuff pays more than detailing the car.
Which is amazing.
So, if I had, like back in the day, I had 2 or 3 car dealers.
Yep.
Well, it goes even further. Most of these cars, especially in South Carolina, they have to have a warranty sticker in the window. Whether it's under warranty or not, then the price sheet, like the price guide and information about the cars. I hit a button and click those and then put those in the cars. We're in charge of that. Some of the car dealers that we go to, we are in charge of the stickers that go on the back of the cars for the car dealers.
Yeah.
Bob's Used Cars.
Mm-hmm.
We actually make those, print those, and stick those on the back of every car that we clean.
Oh my gosh.
So I know this is out there, Jimbo, for what.
No, I love it because the thing is, it's like you're already there, you're already doing it, right? So it's not. It's actually it's more work, obviously, but it's not like you have to like drive to another location, set up something completely different, and then do it. It's like you're pretty much already there. You're already doing it. It's just a slight add-on. It's like the picture things. I'm on your Facebook page right now, and it's like, yeah, like you said, it's a few lights, it's a curtain for a backdrop, and you detailed the car. You already did the hard work. It's like just roll it in here and set up the camera and shoot it. It's not.
Yep.
It's not like that. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit what you're doing. What I'm trying to validate it and saying, like, it's a great idea because you can make extra money on top of that and without a huge amount of work, right?
Right, exactly. It's really nothing to it. I'm trying to figure out how this could go into play with some of your detailers that are listening that have that may be mobile detailing. I don't know how they could use that unless they happen to have one car lot that they work for. I don't know. I'm telling you, if you ever have any trouble getting work, maybe you could hit up one little small car lot just to make sure you have work year round.
Yep.
I mean, hey, we've been paid when it snowed here. The next day, we were paid to pressure wash the snow off the car so that people could buy it. And guess what? That snow fell on the ground and made a big, huge 2-foot triangle of ice. The next day, we went back and pressure washed the ice off the ground.
Yep.
And it was 12 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So, it's not like the car dealers are not our worst enemy after all.
I agree.
It's rough working for them. They want to beat you up over price,
Sure.
but it's not the worst thing in the world you could do. So,
Yep.
Well, okay. Above moving on past the pictures and stuff, we let's see. Let's see. So, of course, there's always stripes and stripe removal, right? That
Yep.
can tie into the retail work.
Mm-hmm.
You buy one of those little things that fit on your drill.
Yep.
Those little rubber
Eraser wheel.
things. You take the stripe off. You clean it with alcohol. Maybe you buy a stripe. You buy some stripe for $12, and it's maybe you have to actually buy one stripe at a time. You got to know ahead of time. So you go to the local store and buy the stripe. But it really takes 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
To stripe a car, maybe 7 minutes to take it off, 10 minutes to take it off, and 7 minutes to put it on. You're charging $40.
Got it. Okay.
Really, and you just pay. Maybe you only charge $150 for a detail, but you just made half of that.
100%.
Fixing it stripe.
Exactly.
Fixing it stripe. So those stripe removal.
And just to clarify, you're talking about like when they're oxidized or faded, and the people want them, you just can replace them, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes,
Got it.
like pinstriping, like
Yep.
either from the factory or,
Yep.
of course, those kind that are painted on from the factory. You can't deal with those at all.
Sure, but most of them are vinyl anyway.
The only thing you have to be careful with is you can't take a stripe off and not replace it, because a lot of people want their stripe off, but you've always the sun's already oxidized around that stripe.
Right.
You always see the line.
See the
And
ghosting.
then 80% of the cars have had a fender painted, and what body shops will do is they'll paint right up to the stripe. So when you go to take that tape off, you got a mess. You can never promise somebody that you can take their stripe off and just leave it off. It's not going to happen. You have to always restripe the car. So you can go to your local store. You ask them what color their stripe is, and you can buy a $12 thing of stripe. That'll do 4 cars.
Yep.
And just restripe it. Follow the lines where it was the first time, and use a little razor blade and cut the ends. That's a $50 upgrade.
Yep.
$50, $65 even to take one off and replace it. Removing window tint. Removing window tint is a pain in the butt, but it costs more to take your window tint off than it does to put it on. Because it's a tougher job. When the window tints just all eat up because it's terrible window tint. Here the sun's so hot that it just disintegrates the window tinting. So we do that. We can charge up to $75 to $100 to take off window tint, and people tint their windows in the front windshield, and it's against the law here to do it. So we'll do it. We'll do that for insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just take all their illegal tint off. A long time ago, working with the car dealers, I figured out, you ever seen those plastic floor mats in the car that say dealer must remove?
Yep.
I bought a roll of that.
That stuff's not cheap, but you get a whole roll.
It's $100.
$100.
$100.
That's not bad.
Right here. I order it. It's $100. I don't know how many cars I can do, but I know it costs me about $2 or $3 a car.
Got it.
$2 a car.
Not bad.
And you put it on a roll. It's got a dispenser, and then you stick that in every single car, and you charge $10 for the front, $20 for the whole car. It takes 20 seconds to put the stuff in, and then not only that, but people like it because if you double layer it or something, it's really thick. It's like a 3 mil plastic. Yep. When you put that in their floorboard, and maybe if you clean their car every 3 months, that stuff's still there when you re-clean their car in 3 months. You take that up, it's preserved their mats.
Yep.
And you just replace it. The mat's brand new underneath it. Just around the edges, is it dirty? So it actually helps us charge them to put that in their car.
Because you make it up on the next one.
Yeah, so some people pay us $60, $70, $80 to do the back of their vehicle. The Suburbans and the kid cars.
Yep.
So we'll do the back of their vehicle where it's airtight. You can't get any you can't spill any liquid that goes around that plastic.
Oh.
So when they come back, you take all that up. It is brand spanking new under there.
It's like a
you have
good
a
hack
spot or
to
two here
do.
and there.
Yep.
So, but they still charge you still charging this. You don't charge any less because they had plastic down. Then you recharge for the plastic again.
Yep.
I mean, that's not cheating the system or anything.
No.
It's just like, hey,
It's being
stuff
efficient.
wears out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So anybody can buy, any mobile car detailer can have that and offer
For
that. They
sure.
can just sit right on. They don't even need a rack to hang it on the rip. It's perforated. You can just tear it off and stick it on there.
Oh.
Sticks like tape. Let's see.
That's cool. Cause you.
All right. So, am I going? Is that too much?
No, I'm just thinking of all the uses for it. That's why I'm laughing, because I'm like, that is so. Because I remember, like, I thought back to a couple clients that I bought in used cars, and they think that the dealer bought brand new mats because they put the plastic on top of it, and really it's just they've cleaned. So it jogged my memory of some situations I've been in, so it was kind of funny how the perception of that plastic alone is so much,
Yes.
But no, you're
and
going
you know
perfect.
When you have wet seats, it's so cheap. I can just stick that on a driver's seat, in the back of a driver's seat. It'll stick to the wet seat. And I tell the people, when you get home, take this off so it can dry.
That's a great idea. They
can sit right. They can sit right on it, man. And,
that's a great idea.
They will not get wet. We don't like to give seat, but when you're doing 2 or 3 cars in a day, you start a car at 3 o'clock. The seat's gonna be wet. We put fans on it,
But still,
customer can't pick that up 2 hours later and just be completely dried.
Totally.
So we use it for that. Let's see. And that brings me to the other mats. We buy mats for $6 a piece. Real actual mats with a little rubber piece on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sell those when people have bad mats or don't have mats. You can upsell them those floor mats. You
That's
can buy
a
a
great
set
idea.
of black mats for $6 a piece. Buy 20 of them. You don't want to drive around with all this stuff in your truck.
Sure.
But if you had 3 black mats in your car and you
Yep.
pay $6 for them and sell them for $25 and put them nice and neat in the car and
Yep.
and then that plastic over it, man, you've made $100 and you've
Yep.
not done nothing.
Yep. And yeah, because sometimes too, if you're doing a car like a pre-sale detail, right, for a client that's selling the car, they may want that. Because I've run into situations where I recommend the customer, instead of having me shampoo the mat, they just buy new mats because, like you said, they're cheap, and it's like you're gonna get a brand new mat. I'm gonna clean it. It's still gonna have all the wear on it, and it's not gonna look as presentable as a brand new mat would. So I could imagine, like, hey, you could buy a new mat. Inevitably, the next question is, well, where do I go for that, right? But if you're like, well, right here.
Yeah, exactly. I've sold some before, and they come back a year later, and they're demolished. They're not your good quality mat. They're not your $25 nice mat or anything. But hey,
they work
bucks,
for the time being.
I don't know. I've always been like every $10 counts.
Yep.
Every time I can. That doesn't seem like much, but every time I can add $10 to or more,
Yep.
it really helps. And you go on Google floor mats, you'll see them $6. The shipping, if you're on Amazon Prime, it won't be any shipping costs, whatever. You get you about 10 sets of mats, and
Yep.
and sell those guys. But let's see, overspray. Overspray. A lot of people, that's something you have to learn. But I actually was lucky enough to go to Atlanta a couple of times and work for this insurance company that when somebody paints a building, like near a garage, and there's 1,000 cars in a garage, and a company spray painting a building down a mile away, the overspray gets called in that building. Next thing you know, insurance has 1,000 claims. So we learned how to use clay bars and thinners and solvents and stuff to get overspray removal off. So some of these mobile dealers might contact some of the insurance companies around their towns and tell them that they can remove overspray. They don't have to, they are the specialists. They could be, I just call my insurance company, and so they send me all the work. Anytime they get somebody with overspray on their vehicle, they just send me the work immediately. And the insurance pays $600-700 per car. So you're going to get about $300 or $400 or $500 per
Nice.
car for just getting the overspray off. And then people have overspray on their car and they don't even know it. So you have to prove to them that there's overspray. They're like, why is it so dry right here? And then when you put wax on it, it turns white. They're like, why is my car white? You know, so you have to convince them into that. That's an avenue. Let's see. Of course, you do odor removal. That's just an ozone machine, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You literally have to find what the odor causing agent is in the car. If it's spilled milk or something, clean that, and then run your run your machine.
Yep. But that's a $300
We're no mechanics, but we can replace an in-cabin filter.
Yep.
I can replace an in-cabin filter in 5 seconds and put some smelly stuff on your car, Brandon. Because when you try to get that smoke smell out, that in-cabin filter is packed full of smoke. That's what recirculates when you put your air conditioner on. Recirculate. So it's recirculating the air in the cabin and also in your when the fresh air comes in from outside. So you put your air conditioner on fresh air, and it still smells like smoke coming out your vents. You know.
Yeah.
You could just at least offer them to change that.
Yep.
Or you could do it for them. I'm right near a parts store, and I'm very handy with that kind of thing. So,
okay.
That filter costs $8, and it slides in underneath the cowl of the hood.
Yep.
Anyway, so moving on. I don't know. We started painting wheels one time when people had damaged wheels.
Yeah.
Damaged wheels, because a lot of people paint their wheels black these days.
Yep.
Let's see. And sometimes there's the aluminum. I started when hot rods have a lot of dull aluminum wheels, and those SS racing wheels and stuff.
Yep.
So that's just a small little thing, but there's no reason for the detailer not to do that for $40. For $50, you just armor all the tire, and the paint don't stick to the armor all tire. Then you put it on thick, wipe it on, then spray paint it. It doesn't have to be professional. I'm not saying we're not going to do it professionally. We're going to do it nice, but we're not going to spend hours on it. We're going to spend an hour on four wheels and get an hour's worth of money. And that's another avenue. We won't spend much time on that. Let's see. I'm going to keep moving on, Jimbo.
You're good. No, you're good.
Too far.
You're good.
Of course, everybody does headlights, right? So we all need to be doing headlights. There's no, I've heard you tell a lot of people on here and talk about headlights. There's no reason for us not to be doing headlights. Not clearing them. You're never going to make money putting sanding and putting clear over headlights. You sand them dudes down with 800, 1,000, 2,000, and then buff them out. Sometimes they're just not going to work, right? We've seen them. They're just not going to buff out because inside are so bad. We should all be doing that. There's no reason to detail a car and get $200 or whatever, $250, detail a car, and then have those headlights just white.
Right.
That's just giving money away. Let's see. This may not be for everyone, but I do it. Leaking sunroofs. Every single sunroof in every single car that has a sunroof has air drain lines right in the corner of both left and right. So water's supposed to go down into your sunroof and drain out of those holes. One little piece of dirt gets in there. One little tiny piece of leaf or dirt gets down in that hole and it clogs up. Then your car becomes wet. Then you get that mildew smell. And you're like, why does my car smell like mildew? So one day I saw the mechanics. They take an air nozzle because we have air. We work even with our mobile trailers. We have an air compressor because we like to blow in between the seats. We like to blow the cracks.
Yep.
Not everybody can have that, but if you're lucky enough to have a little small air compressor, you just stick a little tube in that in those cracks, blow down in there with the compressed air. Get you a bottle of water, dump down in there, look at the bottom of the car, make sure the water's flowing out. If the car's getting wet and got that stain on the roof up there right above where the sun visor is, that means they're stocked up, So you can clean those guys out and charge for that. Then, without even taking the seats and carpet out, you can pull the carpet up, take that padding out, vacuum it up, put a new piece of padding in there, and charge to replace the padding in their car. Sometimes we take the complete seats and carpet out of cars when they've been flooded or when it's real bad. That's because I have a shop, I have air compressors, I have tools, and as a child, I used to rip and snort through putting brand new carpet stuff in seats. I used to be an upholstery guy when we did the hot rod, so I've just been doing that my whole life.
Got it.
That may be too much for everybody just with a mobile detail rig,
Mm-hmm.
But you can still clean out the drains.
Yeah.
Offer some information. It's good for you to know that information, because
For
if you watch their
sure.
car and then their car is full and you see water dripping down in their over their sun visor, you'll at least know what's going on.
And you don't want to get charged. That's a good little hack just to know and have that information, because you don't want to get you don't want to get blamed for that, right? It could just stuff can happen randomly at all times, and it's like, what if the customer's blaming you for now their sunroof is leaking because you pressure washed it and your pressure was too high and blew the seal, or the customer doesn't know that it's just backed up. So it could be that's good knowledge just to have, so you have it, even if you're not adding it as an add-on.
Yeah, because they will blame us for everything.
Yes, sir.
Everything. Hey, my car's so clean now, I can see these 1,000 chips on my hood.
Yep.
They weren't there before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. We put those chips in your hood waxing it. I'm sorry, because it will get wax in those chips, and then they stand out like, that's why sometimes you have to wax and then maybe pressure wash that hood, but, that's a whole other story. But it's good to know those things, so that you can talk. And it also brings up something you brought up before, is having that list. If you're working on a personal car, you got to walk around that car like your Hertz rental car, man. And what light's on? Is the dash light on? Is the radio knobs missing? Was there any burnt paint? Is there any weird paint?
Mm-hmm.
Is the tire flat? You got to kind of know for yourself, so that, you can be like, no, ma'am, that radio knob was missing. I wrote it down. I did not tear it off with my big fat fingers like some employees have done in the past. So, let's see. One other thing, I got a lot more stuff, but I'm just going to really kind of hit on one more thing, is touching up vehicles. And this has been one of the things that I've done my entire life, just because in the hot rod days, we always touched up vehicles and stuff, touched up corners and edges. I started because, when the lack of paint using stuff, you'd burn the edge or the corner or stuff. That's where I learned to touch up cars. So you burn a little piece off the edge or something. Of course, that was 40 years ago. But now these cars, and I offer it to the dealers and also to the retail customer. There are a lot of packages out there online that you can buy where you can kind of get the code off the car, mix up a little batch of paint, and mix it real closely. And you can actually touch up when I say touch up, I mean, like, you can't turn a big, long scratch into a miracle or anything, but you can touch up the chips.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was telling you before, it's not like you're charging them to make their car beautiful again. You just don't want that chip to rust.
Right.
You don't want that chip to get bigger. And this may not be something for like your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis,
sure.
Your
but
stuff
the minivan, the daily driver,
Yeah, it's going to be your mid-range cars or whatever, and you can offer to touch up their vehicle where they're like, man, I got all these chips on the front, and I got this little scratch, and I got my wife did this, this little fender, not fender bender. We're not painting, and we're not doing all that.
Right.
We're taking a little micro dabber, little tiny little cotton thing, and we're touching up. The only way that could work is if you bought one of those, invested a few, maybe $2,000 in some kind of little machine where you had like 20 different colors and you mix it yourself by eye, which you can do. They sell those out there. I've seen them, but because I'm here in a shop, believe it or not, a black Tahoe is the same black paint that they used 12, 15 years ago. It's 855, 8555. That's the code for the black paint. The ones that they're selling now are 8555. So if you buy one can of half pint of acrylic enamel, because acrylic enamel will have the clear in it.
Got it.
So you're not touching up. It's not a two-phase thing. It's a one-phase thing, a one-step process. If I buy one can of black paint that costs about $14, and I keep it in a nice, safe place, it can last a year.
Whoa!
And I could do 1,000 cars with that.
Right.
1,000 cars with that one can of black. That Chevrolet, every single GM and every single Chevrolet has the exact same black, the exact same white that they've used for years. So my point is, because I'm in a shop, which some of these people could be in a shop, over the years I've bought little half pints of paint, and they stay good for a year, year and a half, as long as because I have to mix hardener in them
Right.
before I mix them, which is a tiny thing of hardener lasts a year and can cost $12. So you put a little dab in there, and I can charge up to $100 to touch up somebody's car, and that's on top of the detail.
And that's like no questions asked. That's like, hey, for $100 we could kind of touch all this up, and I bet 9 times out of 10 the people go, yeah, for sure, do it.
Yeah, because I'm like, look, I can fix this car. Another thing, I sand and buff cars. I quit for a long time, sanding orange peel out, sanding scratches out, and people call it paint correction. But what I'm kind of thrown by that because,
right,
you are correcting the paint, but hey, you're not even sanding the car. How did you correct the paint with just that buffing pad? Which I mean, I know it's possible, but the marring and the scratches and those scratches from the thing, you can get a lot of those out, but I've now gone into, like I told you before, just from listening to your podcast, I bought me my first ever DA. Wait a minute, let's don't get sidetracked. Let's go back to the paint. So when I'm on it, Bo.
Yeah, do it.
When I go back to sell a car, they say, can you fix my car? Mm-hmm. My wife wants a new car, but I need the paint to look good because I'm not buying a new car. Just happened last week. Yes, sir. But these scratches, I'll sand some of them out. I'm making up numbers now. I'll charge you $200 to fix the outside of your car. But this scratch isn't coming out, that long scratch isn't on the door. But what I can do is put some black paint on there, fill in the hole, fill it in, and do these chips. And that'll cost another $100. But the car will be brand new as far as the paint goes, and all the scratches will be gone, and then she won't be able to see all the little things. He's like, yeah, no problem. Good, go. Just like that.
Yep.
When he got the car back, I touched up a long scratch that was pretty ugly, probably about 2 feet long on the fender. I filled it in with black. I let it dry. I filled it in again, and I went back and buffed over that, polished over it a little bit. And it wasn't professional, but the lady would never see it. I just made $100. Probably took me 15 minutes. I know we're thinking, hey, $100 is not enough for that, but it's like you got to draw your line. What
totally
somebody will pay. Like I said, I'm not doing race cars, and it's not like somebody's going to be holding to it. There has been times where I spent an entire day touching up a car and charging a lot more money for that. But where were we going?
No, you were good. You were just talking about you were just naming off all the services that you offer, the additional services you offer.
Yeah, there was something that the sanding and buffing.
Oh, sanding. There you go. Yep. As you can see, my memory's not the best.
I talked to you. I started watching videos because of your podcast. I got away from the. I haven't picked up my rotary buffer in a year and a half since I bought that little. Man, I had no idea that little buffer was going to change my life. That little. What is that thing? The 7242. That little.
Yep. Porter cable.
Porter cable.
Yep.
$100.
Yep.
Changed my life forever.
Yep.
So, I pull out my rotary buffer on some of those, those Toyotas that just die. That thing is just dead.
The white, yeah.
Yeah, I pull out my rotary buffer for those, and I pull out the rotary buffer to do some sanding and buffing. Just did a boat. That was a show boat, and he painted himself, and there was orange peel everywhere. So I sanded that with my Porter cable with 1500.
Yep.
I went back with 3000 grit on the same Porter cable. I went back with 5,000 grit on the same Porter cable. And I buffed it with compound with my rotary. Mm-hmm. Then I buffed it with compound with that Porter cable. Then I polished it with that Porter cable. And then I waxed it with that Porter cable. So, I have no idea how this Porter cable is still going. I mean, it's been a year and a half now. And
those things are bulletproof.
I couldn't even imagine one of these Rupaz machines or something that you're always talking about. I see them. I got a brochure for them and stuff. Or one of the torque things or, I could imagine one of those machines. I mean, I'm going to buy one soon.
Yep.
Because I've wore this little guy out. But, man, I'm able now. I used to quit not sand and buff cars anymore, but I started again because I finally started going to car shows. And people that want to pay a lot for their car to be sanded and buffed. You know, they want it flat as glass. And now that machine, because I always used to hand sand, but now I can sand with the machine.
Yep.
At 1,200, 1,500, 3,000,
get through 5,000. It fast.
Man, that 5,000 is almost buffing it.
Yep.
And the rotor used to put squirrels. I finally just got mad at myself. And look, it's not worth $450 to buff this car and still have squirrels in it, you know, with that rotor and machine. And so now I'm back into it, and I'm charging a crap ton of money, and it's easier than ever. Easier than ever.
That's amazing. What else you got?
I think you want more?
How about this? We'll do this. We'll save some for people that have to reach out, right, to you. So you never know, because maybe the next thing you're going to be like, hey, we're going to teach you how to replicate what I'm doing across the country. So I don't want to give all your expertise in a freebie show like this, but I do really, really appreciate and value your expertise and your opinion, and I don't want people to take this for granted, because this is years and years and years of experience. Not calling you an old guy. I'm just saying this stuff, you know, you're rattling it off like it's no big deal, but I'm sure there's been a lot of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears involved in some of those processes, and a lot of experience. So I don't want people to take any of those things for granted of what you've been able to kind of build up and establish and do, you know? So.
Yeah. I just wish, I just want to help people to not go through maybe 10 or 15 years of rough, maybe 10 years of rough living. Like, man, I want to work for myself, and I'm detailing, but man, they're just cutting me every day. People are cutting me every day, and I'm just making normal the $30,000, $40,000 guy, you know, it's like, dang, you know, you deserve more than that, you know. If you've been through it, I'm not saying maybe starting out you got to pay your dues or whatever, but there becomes a time when you have to go, look, I deserve
more.
This.
Yep.
You know. That brings me to another thing, man. Are we almost done? Or
yeah, we were going to wrap this up, but if you got one more, let's hear it.
Well, because of you, I reached out to every car. I haven't reached out to everyone yet, but I've reached out to a few car detailers in my area. I had no idea there were so many. So on Facebook, we have this town page where everybody, they say, where can I get my car detailed? And all of a sudden, people just start rattling off these people. Or I started writing down their names and numbers. And I wasn't mentioned much because I'm more into car dealers. But now my name's getting brought up a lot because I got started getting involved with that more. And so I reached out to a couple of this guy. It turns out this guy cannot sand cars. He can't do the stuff I do. He's a really cool guy. His name is Bobby Mazzone with Zone 1 Details. But he does coatings all day. You know, he's great with coatings. And you noticed I didn't mention coatings. I don't have time, and there might be a day when I do that. I'm just not doing it now.
Sure.
I'm referring him my coatings. You know, and I'm not even getting $1. I just trust him. I've seen his pictures. I've seen his work. He does his coatings in a small. He's got a little tent inside of his shop. You know, he's clean. You know, he looks just like those guys on the videos. You know what I mean? He's like, he knows what he's doing. So I got a guy that's got a 2019 Corvette that wants to get his car coated. I'm like, look, call this guy.
Yep.
And then he calls me like, dude, this guy wants some work done. You know, I appreciate it. I'm like, absolutely.
Yep.
Maybe he'll send me some work. Maybe he won't. I don't know.
Totally.
I don't care. I think, you know, you say start the community. I've reached out to people that won't call me back. They're scared. I said, hey, let's go down to the local burger joint and meet and talk about stuff. It's really weird. Like,
it is weird.
How are you? What are we going to do?
Right.
Like, well, how am I going to? I'm like, what am I going to say to these guys so they don't think that I'm competition? And
right.
But we are a little bit competition. So I was looking to you for maybe some answers about, you know, what are we like? Me and him got a great connection because we have something to offer each other. But what about the next guy that's out there? You know, they say his name on Facebook. He's a great detailer, and then they say this other guy's name is a great detailer. They're basically in competition. But what can we do? I mean, what can we do? I'm asking you.
I mean, the way I look at it, it's like, you know, the way I think about it too is that first of all, the overarching thing is that there's so many cars, at least where I live, there's so many cars out there that I don't even want to do them all. Right. So
Right.
I think competition is healthy. Healthy competition is good because it elevates everyone's game. Right. So, and for example, there's a guy that I just yesterday went to he's been mobile. I've known him for like 10 years. He works literally in the same towns I work in, doing the same exact thing I do, right? And so we're, by definition, competition, but we're also really good friends. Every time I see him at SEMA, I see him at different events. Like, we've been friends for 10 years, right? I just went to he finally got a shop, and I went yesterday to his open house at his shop to support him, and it's like, I don't know. I think, and he had a window tint PPF guy, and I'm like, yo, you got a card? Like, that'd be cool if I could refer you business. Are you working out of this shop? He's like, yeah. I'm like, this is great. So my thing is that there's so many cars that I don't really fret over competition. In fact, I welcome it because I feel like it makes myself try harder, to be better, whether that's, looking more presentable, having my website better, having kind of my marketing plan better. So I think all ships rise in a high tide, right? So I think
Right.
the competition raises the bar for the industry as a whole, right? Or with podcasting,
Right.
like people always, it's so funny. They write in like, oh, did you hear that episode? Or did you hear that podcast? Or did you hear this? Or did you hear that? Or did you see this company has a podcast about detailing now? And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like, I use that as motivation to make this podcast better, right? So
Right. Yeah.
there's that, and then there's also, I had another thought there that I wasn't. Oh, the customer. Some customers and myself, just for whatever reason, aren't going to vibe right. We're not going to get, it just isn't going to seem like the right fit. Whereas the guy Mario, who I went to his shop yesterday, people may love Mario more than they love Jimbo for whatever reason, right? And so
Right.
and sometimes you don't even understand the reason, but it's the same. The way I look at it, it's like, well, look at all the restaurants. Some people like pasta. Some people like chicken sandwiches. Some people want barbecue. It's like, and sometimes that changes depending on the day, right? So I don't know. That's kind of my viewpoint. I think I take a little bit of a laxer approach to it, of like, I tend to welcome competition. I tend to not even really think about it or worry about it too much. And when I do, I use it as motivation. So, and my thing is I like other detailers, right? And if they don't like me or they don't want to network with me, then that's on them, not me, and I'll just move on to the next. But I'm there to, my whole, and maybe I'm going on a long tangent and not even answering your question, but my whole idea behind even starting the podcast was to give back and help out and help those other detailers. So the whole genesis of this podcast and my YouTube channel in general is to network and help other detailers and kind of raise the tide for the industry as a whole, So I don't know if I answered your question or just rambled.
Well, you did. And your podcast has got a 50-year-old man that's been detailing cars for 35 years in Columbia, South Carolina, boosting his business.
Yep.
So you've absolutely worked. It's absolutely worked. And yeah, you're right. I might be stressing over that. I might just keep calling these guys and see if they want to meet. The ones that want to meet, they can meet. Hey, we should have there's not that many people in this town.
Yep.
That are detailing cars. Some of them are wash and waxes, and some of them are car detailers. And
Yep.
we could have our little union. I mean, you don't know. We could take care of each other. I don't know what could come out of it. We could make sure that we all are charging about the same price. Everybody's scared to post their price online. They always like, well, I inboxed you my price. I'm like, man, put it out there.
Yep.
So,
Totally.
I don't know. Maybe we could. I'm just going to keep. I've got a list of 20 people here. I'm going to keep calling them.
There you
I'm
go.
going to set up some dinner. I'm just going to hang out, and the ones that like me, like you said, will hang out, and the ones that don't, won't. And
that's it.
We won't learn from each other. That'll just be fine. But I thank you for that. I thank you for your podcast. I thank you for the information that your other interviewees have given me. I've listened greatly and with great detail and writing down stuff. I've learned a lot. Learned a whole lot.
And I appreciate you taking the time to, what a lot of listeners don't understand is you don't have to come on the show and share your quote unquote secrets, right? And I think you've been in this car industry long enough to know that it used to really be like that. That no one shared their secrets or their kind of niches or their additional revenue streams or unconventional upsells, so I appreciate you being so willing to come on and kind of share all those. If there are detailers in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, or wherever, this kind of global market that we're establishing, how can people find you on social? How can they reach out to you? How can they become part of this kind of group that you're growing?
Let's see. Well, my name is Brian, Brian, Geiger, Geiger. It's spelled like Geiger. I have a personal Facebook page. Anybody's welcome to contact me there. My page you can find just by Googling the little, what's that thing called?
Yep. Just
Columbia
the at sign.
Auto Detail. Yeah. At Columbia Auto Detail. The actual page is Geiger Services, Auto Detailing. Those are the two places you can find me, but you can find me by my name. Just Google it somewhere, somehow, and pull it up, and I'll take emails or phone calls or whatever.
I love it, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.